This video is sponsored by Enlisted. More about them later. I've done a 10 and 2 Division World Conquest, and you've been asking, it's time for the 1 Division World Conquest, the hardest challenge in Hearts of Iron 4 history, never done before. It's significantly harder than the 2 Division World Conquest. Can I defy all odds while retaining my sanity? Probably not, but let's get into it. First, some really quick rules. We'll play on Ironman mode, we'll only use 1 division, we won't call allies to war, and the puppet divisions received will be unused and removed. I'll try keeping puppeting to a minimum. So what nation should we play? I have 2 criteria for the nation. It should not be vulnerable to land invasion, because it's hard to defend with a single division, and it should be able to turn fascist without a civil war, since that's also hard to do with 1 division. I'm going with the USA. It's pretty much an island if you conquer its neighbors, and you can turn fascist without a civil war. Let's dive into the initial setup. Beginning by deleting all my divisions except 1 and starting to exercise it along with my Navy and Air Force. Then I sold all my equipment since none of it would be useful. After that I aimed to go fascist, which required doing 3 things. Re-establish the gold standard and America first, hire a fascist demagogue, and wait until the 1940 election. To re-establish the gold standard I had to wait until the 1936 election. Meanwhile I focused on the military. We could now do the required focuses. We now had tanks. I instantly rushed the next tier and didn't bother producing the current one. Then I started producing a vast amount of civilian factories. With many civs, I began making mills, just as 1940 planes were researched. I allocated most of my factories to them. I also got 1940 tanks and started producing them, not needing many since I only had to supply 1 division. Having enough war support, I could do a focus which gave me a war goal on Cuba. Let's see how it will go. Thanks to a reinforcement beam, we landed. We then farmed the Cubans for some arm XP before capping them. I started working on a collaboration government in Mexico, aiming to eliminate our neighbors and removing all immediate threats of land invasion. Mexico was first. A tough challenge due to their division number, but with an established air force, it would be a bit easier. I declared war, beginning by taking out some of their divisions as they pushed into me. Realizing it was pointless, since they most likely wouldn't run out of divisions, I pushed into them. Their divisions were preoccupied with pushing into me, so there was very little resistance. And they capitulated. A great success. Continuing south, I took out the Central American countries. After that, it was time for our current biggest threat, Canada. But wait, Japan declared war on me, but they would have to wait. I started invading Canada. After pushing into them, I realized I wouldn't be able to capitulate them. They and the UK just had too many divisions. I had to find a solution. Thinking quickly, I rushed my division over to Germany, using their territory to naval invade the UK. If I defeated them, Canada would fall too. It was a race against time. They had to capitulate before me. That was a relief. But with no time to spare, I invaded Spain, who was weakened by the civil war. I then invaded Vichy France, who were more difficult, pushing me back into Spain. I killed a lot of their divisions and eventually capped them. They had joined Japan's faction, so I didn't get a peace conference. I had to finally take care of them. So I took Taiwan and Okinawa, so I could reach their mainland. I had recently researched nukes, which made landing easy. The narrowness of their country made pushing effortless, even with just one division. In the peace conference I took a lot, and Vichy France was liberated, so I had to invade it again, aiming to puppet it to use as a buffer zone against the Axis and as an entrance into the Mediterranean. The other entrances would most likely be inaccessible in case of war. The year was now 1947, and it was time for one of the biggest wars I had ever experienced. Me with one division against the biggest faction in the world with hundreds. My plan was quickly taking Gibraltar and then moving up to hold the narrow entrance into Spain. Let's see how it plays out. After taking Gibraltar, they were overwhelmingly pushing up north. I rushed my division there, trying to contain their push. Enlisted is a free squad-based FPS on PC and consoles that skillfully combines PvP with PvE combat. Lead a squad of AI-controlled soldiers into some of the biggest battles of World War II in clashes against the squads of other players. Utilize the unique roles and abilities of your soldiers in battle. Plan strategies with your fellow squad leaders and lead your side to victory. You can fight on the side of the United States, Germany, the Soviet Union and Japan, and unlock weapons, tanks and aircraft which you can use to customize your squads with. There's in fact over 400 weapons, tanks and aircraft. From infamous tanks like the German King Tiger to obscure guns like the American Johnson LMG, Enlisted offers a truly massive arsenal for you to unlock and equip your soldiers with. And to those of you that have already played Enlisted, the game has recently received a huge meta update, introducing research trees for weapons and vehicles, a matchmaker based on the equipment, and many other improvements to gameplay, all developed together with the Enlisted community. Something I personally love about Enlisted is the sense of immersion. You can have fun while really feeling like you are participating in a historic battle. So what are you waiting for? Get Enlisted now on PC, PlayStation or Xbox using the link in the pinned comment or description. New PC players will get 2 weapons and a helmet, along with 4,000 silver and a premium account for 3 days. But it's only available for a limited time, so don't miss out. After killing countless divisions, they encircled me, and I unfortunately lost my division. Nevertheless, I quickly trained up a new one, and naval invaded Brittany, killing multiple divisions. My attention then shifted to the UK, owned by Germany. I had to act, seeing the possibility of using it as a staging ground for my division and airplanes. It was a grueling battle, killing many hundreds of thousands of Germans. In the end, I captured it. I then returned to France, now with thousands of planes over me. To be able to win, I had to reduce their division numbers to a negligible amount, so they couldn't retake any territory I took. This was my goal for now. After multiple hours of encircling, overrunning, and nuking millions of Axis members, the grind halted when Italy split off into its own faction, with almost all of South America, while being the only major. This was a golden opportunity. If they capitulated, so would all other members of their faction. So I moved my division to Algeria to get into the Mediterranean. My division landed on the nuclear wasteland beaches of Sicily. I captured the whole island and continued north. I couldn't progress further, even though my division could win any battle, since they had hundreds of divisions waiting to encircle me after every move. To prevent this, I moved back and forth, all while encircling as many divisions as I could. Thanks to my 100% collaboration government, I only had to conquer a fraction of their country for them to cap, and after 6 million casualties, they did. This was a major victory, but we had no time to celebrate. Most of the acquired territories would just be taken by the Axis, so back to grinding them down. After tiringly grinding them down for many hours, their division count had gone from 1 to 2,000 in the beginning, all the way down to between 36 and 81. I had inflicted 26 million casualties, while only losing 240,000. To get a peace conference, I had to defeat Germany, Bulgaria and Hungary. Not easy, but manageable. Remember, if we won, the world conquest would pretty much be complete. So I was really hyped. Their low division count made it so they couldn't retake the territory I took, so I started pushing hard. Germany capitulated. And Hungary too. Bulgaria was the only one left. Being moments away from defeating Bulgaria, I checked the war screen to see how close I was to celebrating this enormous victory. Norway had become a major. Very discouraging, but I shrugged it off. It was just another nation to conquer. Bulgaria capitulated and I raced over to Norway. Capitulating them too, but no peace conference? Something had to be wrong. I couldn't believe it, but surely we could just rush over and capitulate them too? The Axis retook all the territory I worked hours for, uncapitulating themselves. I was seconds away from glory, and then in less than a minute, it all vanished. We were back to square one. To cope with this agonizing loss and to not develop severe brain cancer, I had to take a break for a few days. When I returned, I was determined to succeed. I got to work. Luckily, their division numbers were still low, so I could repeat what I did previously. But a problem appeared. Siam became a major, another obstacle in the way. I disregarded that for now. I resumed my conquest, defeating Germany, Slovakia, Hungary, Romania, and Bulgaria all over again. Learning from my mistakes, I took every tile and killed every division, so they couldn't retake anything. Europe looked very clean. Now Siam was the sole remaining major. Getting my division there would take 2 months, so I was pressed for time. While landing in Siam, I took a quick look at the war screen again. And did you see that? Iran became a major. At this point, I didn't care anymore. I didn't care if I needed to play for another week straight. I'd rather die than not complete the challenge. So I put my head down, entering a flow state, while I sat for 2 hours, doing the same thing over and over again, until I heard the dreaded sound. Germany had gained a temporary naval supremacy, while my navy was repairing, and was landing in Brazil. Not a huge issue, but then a disaster. This was terrible. I rushed my division there as fast as I could, trying to contain their spreading forces, but I was too late. All I could do was watch as my nation fell. 19 hours and 59 million kills for nothing. This amount of brain cancer is immeasurable. I was devastated. I thought about giving up, but giving up has never been an option. I'll keep trying again and again until I win. I had learned from the previous game. Never again would I be naval invaded like that. So navy would be a priority, starting with submarines and then the best surface fleet I could build. I would also rush nukes, since they proved essential for naval invasions and escaping encirclements. So I started a new game. I will be doing the exact same build-up, but with some improvements, like annexing the Philippines to avoid an early war with Japan and instantly focusing on Britain in the Canada War. Until this point, we had mirrored the previous game almost perfectly, but now it was time to deviate. I decided not to attack Spain and Vichy France, since they would just be taken by Germany. Instead, I declared war on Germany once again, invading Britain and killing some divisions. But I chose to withdraw, because I didn't want to disrupt the Axis invasion of the Soviets. I wanted them to capitulate, so we didn't have to fight them later. After an hour of infuriating waiting, the Soviets were defeated. I instantly naval invaded Brest, beginning the draining encirclement grind we saw in the last game. This is what my division looked like at that point. Again, I realized the strategic importance of the UK and diverted my division there, moving quickly and killing tens of thousands in every encirclement. After this strategic victory, I returned to the soul-crushing grind I had devoted myself to for well over 10 hours by this point. I was now a bit tired of this and looked for something different. If I could secure Norway, I would get a lot of territory to house even more planes. So that is what I did. I realized Germany could just retake all the territory when I left, so this was pointless. But I had spotted a golden opportunity. Japan was the lone major in their big faction. This could not be ignored. They capitulated with only 1.4 million casualties. With the nukes and the Great Train, this was quite easy. By this point, we had reached 1955. With a major victory behind us, I was hoping to end this challenge soon. I resumed the grind in France. The Axis were now low on divisions, allowing me to push into them. Italy had split into their own faction, like the last game, with 1.5 thousand divisions. But we'll focus on that later. We continued into Germany, eventually capping them. Italy immediately moved in, capturing all the German territories I attained. So back to France it was. Italy was for some reason barely putting divisions on the front, so I chose to relocate to Spain and started killing more and more. At this point, 8 hours in, I became very paranoid that I would be naval invaded. Therefore, I began researching all naval technologies to make the best navy I had ever made. When the research was done, I began creating my navy with stacked carriers, heavy cruisers, and destroyers. Then a thought entered my head. If I took Africa, I would have a massive staging ground and access to the Mediterranean. So I moved into North Africa, capturing everything. I moved too far and could not get supply into the Mediterranean, while desperately trying to get a port. I got encircled and lost my division. But this wasn't really a problem. I had a division in queue just in case this happened, which I deployed and moved back to Africa. But after a while, I realized that just like in Norway, I would never be able to hold on to this territory. So I moved out, once again, back to Spain. After 5 hours of grinding, something happened. Something that would change the course of the entire game. Italy had a civil war. That meant that I could get military access from the other Italy and destroy them. I couldn't miss this opportunity. With nukes and the insane stats of my tank, I could break any stack of divisions without a problem. So there they go, Italy capped. But I didn't get a peace conference. Brazil and Italian Greece remained majors. Italy invaded Italian Greece, creating a beachhead and providing me with supply, allowing my division to do its thing. Now Brazil was the only major left. Time was of the essence, since I didn't want another Axis situation. So I quickly exfiltrated my division out of the Mediterranean and moved it to an island near Brazil. Having built a collaboration government, I wouldn't need that much territory. I landed in Rio de Janeiro and took as much territory as possible before they swarmed me with divisions. When divisions started pouring in, I used nukes to halt their advance and continued north. After capturing the most northern victory point, the stress started getting to me. They were 98% towards capitulation. At any moment, a new major could appear. I had to move fast. This was a substantial relief. After deploying well over 200 nukes and the majors alone receiving 20 million casualties, they capped. I was overjoyed. This was a major victory. The Axis controlled all the remaining world, except a few inconsequential nations, meaning that if I defeated them, the world conquest would pretty much be complete. With this in mind, determined, I started grinding in northern Germany. I no longer had that lingering fear of naval invasion, since my god-tier navy was established, enhancing my focus even further. After a bit, I moved to Portugal due to their superior terrain. After a 3-hour grind, I'd killed over 20 million, but their division count had still increased by 1 to 800 somehow. But I couldn't let that bother me. I moved to France to see how high I could get my division stats. Here in the plains, I witnessed the division's truly mind-blowing power. That's insane! After 1.5 hours of additional grind, I started noticing gaps in the front line. This meant it was time to start taking territory, hopefully for the last time. I took all of Spain and then moved up through France into Germany, blitzing through the empty front lines. I had to defeat Germany, Romania, Turkey, Bulgaria, and Hungary to get a peace conference. With 100% collaboration governments on all of them, peace would come sooner than later. And after 43 years and 27 days, the Axis surrendered with 60 million casualties. Before we celebrate, let's clean up all remaining countries. The challenge was complete. It's hard to put into words how satisfying this was. Trying for weeks and playing for a total of 42 hours, and then finally achieving victory. After overcoming countless difficulties and doubts about continuing, after 100 million casualties, representing 10,000 destroyed divisions, we won. I want to truly thank you for watching this video. I would be very thankful if you consider liking and subscribing. I also read every single comment and will try to respond to as many as I can. And one last thing, I have recently started a Patreon, so if you want to support me and show your appreciation, check that out. Now before ending, I'll show some things that some of you would like to see. Here's the tank template and designs. Here's the unit commander, and here's the playthrough overview. Keep in mind that a large majority of my casualties were from naval battles. I checked the footage and my division only took 200,000 casualties. Thanks again for watching. Goodbye. Thanks again to Enlisted for sponsoring this video. Get Enlisted now on PC, PlayStation or Xbox using the link in the pinned comment or description. And if you are a new player on PC, you will receive a special bonus pack that includes multiple items, in-game currency and premium account time.